What's up, guys? So we have an update to our chain lightning build for end game 80 plus. So we're gonna go through the skills, the aspects, and some of the Paragon board changes that we're gonna go through. So let's jump right into it. All right, guys. So before we hop into it, I just want to thank you guys for the feedback that you gave us on our previous video. We did make some adjustments to the build. So this is the 80 plus build. This is the build that's gonna push us all the way to 100, to pushing through to Nightmare 100s, and then eventually killing Uber Lilith. So we're gonna go through the changes of the build. If you are under 80 and you're watching this video, I highly suggest you check out our chain lightning build. That there'll be a card up here somewhere on the screen that you can check out. That's more of an early to mid game build. I was using that build personally up until about probably 3 or 4 levels ago when I switched, and I was able to run all the way up until like high 50s, low 60s before I started to kind of hit a wall, and that's when I started to shift to this build, right? So TLDR, guys, we'll go through quick rapid fire what you need. One thing to note, the TLDR, guys, if you're not going to stick around for the whole video, obviously, please, if you find it helpful, please like and subscribe to the video. But one thing to note is that you want to make sure that you are at or close to 100% crit chance before you switch to this build, right? And I know that sounds like a lot. All you really need is just a little bit of crit chance on your gear, and then you want to have an Elementalist amulet, a decently rolled one. You see mine's not even max. I'm at 54%, and because we have our mana problem solved, we are basically able to get to almost 100% critical strike chance. So that's one of the things you want to have before you shift over to this. Once you get close to that mark, I would say probably 85% is a pretty good time to shift over. So we'll go through each thing, and we'll hit on the aspects, we'll hit on the hearts, and then we'll post the Mobalytics guide in the comments so you guys can see all the skills. We won't go through the whole skill tree for you guys. We'll give you like a quick run down here, okay? So the helm, we're going to be running Disobedience. Nothing's really changed there. We shifted the Disobedience from our pants to our helm instead. Still running Raiment, nothing's new there. We're still running Unbroken Tether here. For our pants, we have actually shifted our aspect to the Veer's Mastery aspect. And if you haven't guessed, we're shifting away from a Crackling Energy setup to more of a Veer's Mastery setup. And you'll see why in the detailed explanation. If you guys don't want the whole detailed explanation, just check out the guide and we'll do this quick rundown, okay? Same thing for our boots. We're actually changing away from aspect of Shared Misery, and we're shifting to Binding Embers. There's a reason for this. There's a really powerful way this interacts with one of our skills called Devouring Blaze. If you want to read it, go check it out. If not, I'm going to go through it in the detailed guide, but it's really, really good. So you definitely want to run this aspect. This is a found aspect, though, so you got to find it on the piece of gear. Okay. Our weapon. So this is the other big change that we're going to make. We're going to shift to a dagger instead of a wand, and the reason for that is we're going to be going for 30% damage to close enemies on the implicit. This is going to really help us when we teleport in and do our Frost Nova and do all of our shenanigans when we go close to melee range. Okay. Amulet, same thing. Elementalist. We actually opted to not use the Mother's Embrace here. We shifted over to just another ring instead. We wanted a bit more stats, so we did that, and then we added Recharging Circle here, or Recharging Aspect. For our other ring, we're using Prodigy's Band. We have not even found a rolled Mother's Embrace yet, a rolled Recharging Aspect, so we're still using the Codex of Power one. It still functions pretty well. But yeah, those are the rings, both mana rings. And then our offhand, this is a flex spot. You can use, I've used Control. I've used a few different things here. The one that I found performed the best is Accelerating. This is largely preference. I feel like we're critting a lot. We want more attack speed, but totally up to you. If you want to run something a little bit different here, by all means. You want it to be an offensive aspect. So whatever you want to run here if you don't want to run Accelerating. Okay. And as far as the hearts go, still running the Barber. We're still running the Caged Heart of Revenge. The major change here is we're shifting away from the Caged Heart of Talrasha, and we're going to be using the Tempting Fate instead. right? And the reason for this, right, if you look what this does, you gain 83% increased critical strike damage, but your non-critical strikes do 42% less damage, right? And there's obviously a range there. The reason we do this is because we have, and this is another reason why you want to have close to 100% crit. If you're almost all of your attacks are critting, the non-critical strike modifier on the bottom doesn't matter, right? If you're always critting, like you're just basically getting a flat like 83% or 80 something percent damage increase, right? Really good. So that's the TLDR. Stick around if you guys want to see the full detailed breakdown. All right, guys, so this is the skill tree. If you followed our previous Chain Lightning guide, not too much has changed. We just made a couple tweaks here and there. For our basic skills, we're still going to run Fireball. That's going to be one of our enchantment slots. 2 points there. Then we're going to go down to Frozen Orb. We're going to go all the way to Greater Frozen Orb. This is going to be our second enchantment slot. The reason why we want this ability is because this is going to give us a ranged way, to apply vulnerability, okay? 1 point in Devastation to unlock Elemental Dominance. The reason why we want this is going to give us a pretty much a flat 9% damage increase because we're almost always going to be above 50 mana. Okay, Chain Lightning, maxing that out. It's a Chain Lightning build, so that's why we're doing that. We're going to go down to Greater Chain Lightning. Now, this is the big shift from our previous build. So this is going to give us a huge damage increase. But one thing to note with this, with the Destructive Chain Lightning, we literally don't run out of mana, so we can be a bit more liberal with our cooldown usage. With the Greater Chain Lightning setup, you want to be a little bit more cognizant of when you're using your cooldowns because you will sometimes need to use a cooldown to top off your mana to make sure you're getting those procs from the Elementalists being over that 100 mana. Okay. And then also something to note as well, we want to be more cognizant when we're using unstable currents because before with the Crackling Energy setup and Overflowing Energy, we didn't have a cooldown on it, so we could use this literally every fight. You want to save unstable currents now for big boss fights or big pack fights and boss fights. You don't want to use this every single time because then it'll be on cooldown when you really want to have it, okay? So that is it for our mastery skills. For our defensive skills, we're going to go 1 point in Flame Shield. We decided to take these 2 points out here. You can slot them back in if you want. If you find that you're dying a lot or you want to have a little bit more healing, you can definitely do this. I would just take the points out of Teleport instead if you want to do that. Okay. We are going to be maxing out Teleport now, going all the way to Shimmering Teleport. The reason for this is we are no longer running the Crackling Energy setup, the Overflowing Energy, so we're no longer getting the decreased cooldown for Teleport. So we want to have a quicker Teleport, so that's why that we're putting these points in here. So, right, so we want to make sure Teleport is up whenever we want to use it, because sometimes this is what saves our lives, right? So 3 points in Glass Cannon, 1 point in Elemental Attunement. The reason for that, it's going to reset, give us a chance to reset our cooldowns. 1 point Nice Armor for the shield, Frost Nova, all the way down to Mystical Frost Nova, just to have another way to apply vulnerability and to freeze enemies. Okay, down here we're going to go 3 points in Precision Magic just to get a bit more lucky hit chance. 1 point in Align the Elements, 3 points in Mana Shield. We are constantly spending mana, so we're pretty much going to have this damage reduction up pretty much permanently. So definitely want to take 3 points there. And then 3 points in Protection because we're constantly using cooldowns. We're going to have a constant barrier as well. Okay. Down here in our mastery skills, we're going to do 1 point in Inner Flames and we're going to do 3 points in Devouring Blaze. Now, if you remember in the TLDR section, I mentioned that Devouring Blaze has a pretty cool interaction with our Binding Embers or Binding Cinders aspect. If you read what Binding Embers does, it says, Flame Shield lets you move unhindered through enemies. Enemies that you move through while Flame Shield is active are immobilized for 2 to 3 seconds, right? So if you read what Devouring Blaze does, it says you deal 21% increased critical strike damage against burning enemies. If they are also immobilized, this bonus is increased to 30%. So the gameplay loop is going to be activate Flame Shield, teleport in, sucks everybody into the Flame Shield. They're going to get immobilized. They're going to take 30% increased critical strike damage, right? It's a pretty big damage boost. You'll notice it almost immediately. So you definitely want to grab that aspect. Okay. Down here, this is another one of the big shifts that we have. We're gonna go 1 point in permafrost and then 3 points in hoarfrost. If you do find that you are still having mana issues, you can take these 3 points out. You can put the point back in destructive chain lightning, and you can take these 4 points and you can put these over here into invigorating conduit if you're still having mana issues. But ideally, your mana issues should be fixed, and you shouldn't really ever run out of mana. Okay, we're gonna max out unstable currents. If you've ever played a lightning build before, you know how good this skill is. It's amazing, so you definitely want to have that maxed. 1 point in coursing currents, it's just going to give us some more crit strike, and then electrocution going to give us some more DR. Okay, and then last but not least is going to be the keystone passive. So as I mentioned before, we're shifting away from overflowing energy into Veer's Mastery. What Veer's Mastery does is says close enemies take 15% increased damage from your stock skills and deal 20% less damage to you. Critical strikes increase these bonuses by 25% for 3 seconds. So we're going to basically always be critting. So this is going to go up to, so the first one's going to go up to, what is that, 20-40%. And then enemies are going to deal 55% less damage to you, right? Now this is also going to stack with our aspect here, which is going to give us another 23% damage reduction, right? 27% at max, right? So that's the skill tree. Next, we'll go through the aspects, and we'll do a deep dive about why we pick each aspect. Okay. All right. As far as the aspects go, we're going to be doing disobedience on our helm. We're going to be doing raiment of the infinite for our chest. For our gloves, we're doing unbroken tether. This bounce is really, really good. It also works really well with the destructive chain lightning here. It's going to give us more bounces, which is just going to give us more damage. So really good. Our pants, we're going to be running Veer's Mastery. This is going to just give us further DR when we teleport in. So really, really necessary, especially once you get into like the late nightmare tiers, like I would say 70 plus. This is a lifesaver. This is huge. Okay. For our boots, Binding Embers, we already explained why we do this. Really good. For our weapon, we're going to do the Frozen Orbit. The reason why we do this is because we want to just have we're going to be constantly flinging out frozen orbs and them just hitting twice and then exploding. It's really good. The damage doesn't really matter, but the application of chill and the chance to freeze is kind of why we're doing this. Okay. Amulet, still going to be running Elementalist. We want that increased crit strike when we're over 100 mana, and we're going to pretty much always be over 100 mana. For our ring, recharging, ring 1 recharging aspect. If I have not had yet to have one drop, like an actual like one that's above the Codex of Power one. So if you get like a 2.5 or a 3, you might even be able to replace this second mana aspect with an offensive aspect or a utility aspect. I don't know yet because I haven't got one, but as of right now, we want to be running 2 mana aspects on our rings. Okay, and then our offhand, once again, like I said, it's a flex spot. I like accelerating because it gives us we're critting all the time, and the more attacks means more chances to crit. So that's why I do that. But you can run control here. You can run. There's a bunch of different options that you have. You want it to be an offensive aspect. So whatever offensive aspect you want to work with, by all means use that. Okay, and that's the aspects. All right, so we don't really need to go too in depth with the hearts. The hearts have basically stayed the same. We're going to be using the Barber here. We're going to be using the Cage Heart of Revenge for the damage reduction and the nuke on all of our defensives. And then the only other change that we made here is we swapped, the Tal Rasha's heart for the Caged Heart of Tempting Fate. The reason for this is we're going to have close to 100% crit strike, so we just want more damage on those crits, right? So that's the big shift there. Everything else has basically stayed the same. For our Paragon board, our starter board is the same. The only difference, we're still running control here, so that hasn't changed. We decided to grab a couple more abilities over here on this side. If you started leveling control, that is the main glyph that you want to level first, so go for that one. Our second board is going to be Static Surge. We changed the orientation a little bit on this. I felt like this was a bit more of a streamlined path. If you're using the other path, that's fine too. It's really just kind of up to you. I felt like this was a little bit more efficient with the points. Okay, so we're gonna streamline right to Static Surge. This is gonna give us this is gonna be a big part of fixing our mana problems. Basically, every time you teleport in, you're gonna get 10 mana back for each enemy that you hit, and then every enemy is always gonna be stunned when you teleport because of Raymond. Okay. We're going to take this. This is going to give us more damage on stunned enemies. We're going to take this as well as damage against stunned enemies. Glyph is going to be Flame Feeder here, so this is a little bit of a change. I underestimated how good this glyph was. It is really good, way better than I thought it was. So you definitely want to start using this glyph opposed to, I think I was using Ceaseless Energy before. So this is a lot better. Okay. And then we're going to path up here, just get a bit more damage to stunned enemies, get some more mana. We're going to path up to the top. The next glyph is going to be Frigid Fate. We're going to go up in here and grab the glyph slot, and we're going to be using Territorial here. Now, the reason we're doing this is because we're doing more of a Veer's Mastery setup opposed to a Crackling Energy setup. So one of the things to note with this is, like, don't get baited into only playing at melee range. We do significant damage at range as well. So if it's a situation where it doesn't make sense for you to be in melee, don't be in melee, right? Kind of how the gameplay loop and how the build works is you want to teleport in, stun everything with Raiment, freeze it, hit your flame shield, get that crit strike damage. If anything is still alive and all your cooldowns are down, get the hell out, right? Back up, throw some chain lightnings, wait for cooldowns to come back up, go back in. You want to kind of like ping pong back and forth. You'll see in the gameplay video how I play it. That's essentially how you want to run it. Okay. But yeah, Territorial here is going to give us a lot of damage against close enemies, and it's also going to give us 15% damage reduction against close enemies. So this is going to help when we teleport in, not just get one shot. Okay. We're going to grab some of these glyphs up here. Get the dex in order to get this activated. And then we're going to go down here. We're going to grab Oppressive just to get a bit more vulnerable damage. We're going to grab Weakness to get a bit more vulnerable damage. And then we're going to path to the right over here. The next board we're going to be picking is going to be Burning Instinct. We're going to basically grab every damage increase and damage reduction from burning enemies. So we're going to path over here first, grab the glyph. We're going to slot in Destruction. So this is a huge damage increase to our crits. So this is the glyph that you want to level second. So the first one that we want to level to 15 is going to be Control. The second one you want to level is going to be Destruction, right? And then third would probably be Territorial, and then fourth probably Flame Feeder. Okay. So we're going to path up here. We're going to grab some damage reduction from elites. Get some extra damage reduction from elites and some armor. We're gonna go up here. We're gonna grab some more damage reduction over here. Damage increase to elites, and then damage increase here. And then we're gonna path up here. We're gonna grab some more of these damage reduction nodes here, and then we will most likely either path just straight to the right or maybe path down. I haven't really decided which way we're gonna go. We might just go across. And the next board that we're going to use, we're most likely going to use Elemental Summoner, I think is the one that I was looking at. Yeah, Elemental Summoner, probably with this orientation because we want to get the increased mana. So we'll probably come down here, we'll take this mana, we'll take this mana, we'll take this life. Basically going to take all of these rare, these magic and rare nodes right here. And then we will, we don't really care about the Elemental Summoner legendary node. And then if we have enough points, we'll go up here and grab the glyph slot, right? So that's the build. At the end of the video, you will see a gameplay footage and see kind of how the build functions. You'll see that we do a ton more damage now, and we are a lot more tanky. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please make sure you like and subscribe. I'm live on Twitch Monday, Wednesday, Friday at about 9 p.m. Eastern time. So